So we're down to our last jar of lard in the refrigerator. I thought I'd take you along today and show you how really simple it is to render your own cooking fat in the kitchen just using a slow cooker. So my sister-in-law butchered her pigs last year. We asked the butcher to bag up the fat for us so that we could render lard as we needed it. All right, we got our fat from the freezer outside. We have our slow cooker here, and that's really all you need to render your own cooking fat. So you just simply place your fat back, your leaf lard, into your pot. And you want to set it to low for about 8 hours or so. What you want is it to start melting really slowly. You don't want it on high because then the pork bits that are in the fat will start cooking and it'll make your lard taste a bit more porky. And you don't necessarily want your pies to taste like bacon. You want it to have a cleaner flavor. And also, as you can see, the lid is not gonna perfectly fit on there right now. That's okay, it's gonna start slowly melting and it'll fit in your crock pot. So I usually move it around to see if I can get it close to getting the lid on, but it doesn't have to be perfectly on the top at the beginning. As it heats up, this fat will start melting and it'll shrink down and fit in your crock pot. A lot of people like to place their slow cooker outside while it's rendering lard, as it is gonna make your kitchen smell like bacon and pork cooking. Which for us isn't that big a problem. We can crack the window if it gets to be a little bit overwhelming, but since it's such a cold and rainy day, we're gonna keep it inside to render. And that's it. We'll check on it in a few hours to take a look and see how it's progressing. As you can see, after several hours, the fat has started slowly melting and the lid now fits on top of the slow cooker. And you can start seeing some of the fat along the bottom. I'm not sure if it can catch it on camera, but it's just slowly melting in there, and we'll come check on it again later this evening. One of the things I forgot to mention earlier is this is more of the lazy man's or procrastinator's method of making lard. So a lot of the blog posts that you see or videos that you see online for rendering lard recommend thawing the fat, cutting it up into pieces, or running it through a meat grinder so that you have much finer pieces that should melt more evenly and quickly than, say, a solid chunk of fat. One of the reasons that we haven't done that method in the past is that it takes time, and working full-time outside of the home, I have to use whatever time I have available to me here at home. And it doesn't always align up perfectly, so you will see me in this video take fat directly from the freezer and put it into my slow cooker. I just happen to have time this day to put it in the slow cooker, ladle out the fat as I went, and it's a great alternative if you can't plan too far in advance with your schedule. We hope this method works equally as well for you. We've never had brown or dark lard or pork flavoring that was overwhelming in our lard in the past, and we hope it works just as well in your own kitchen. So we checked on the slow cooker a few hours later, and about half of the fat has melted down. A lot of lovely lard rendered down in there, and we still have a fair amount of fat to go. And what we're going to do is we're going to ladle out the lard that's in the crock pot into some mason jars, because we don't want the lard to keep cooking in the pork, because we don't want it to have that porky flavor like I mentioned at the beginning. So we're going to ladle out the current fat and then put the other fat back in to let it continue rendering. Our funnel does have a strainer in it, and I'll link to that specific strainer below, but you can also put a regular canning funnel in there with a normal strainer on top to filter out the porky bits. If you notice that the fat is starting to cook rather than melt, you can turn your slow cooker down to warm. Now I have the fat that's remaining back in the pot, and we'll let it keep rendering down. We're pouring the last of the lard into the jars, and then we're going to allow it to cool overnight in the jars before we put it in the refrigerator. Alright, it's the next morning, and we have our lard jars filled. We have about 3.5 quarts of lard. And as you saw last night, it starts off a yellow color when it's liquid and warm, and then it solidifies as it cools overnight and turns into the white, lovely lard that you see here. And you can use it for anything from sauteing to frying. I mean, some people I've seen even drizzle it over popcorn to have a little bit of a bacony flavor. So there's a lot of uses in the kitchen. We keep ours stored in the refrigerator so that it doesn't go rancid quite as fast. But you can also keep a small cup next to your stove and drop that into your pan when you're frying your egg in the morning. Well, we hope this has helped you learn how to make your own lard in your kitchen and see how easy it is to make your own cooking fats.